Welcome everybody, this is Mr. Nibb, and this is the very first session of something I like to call Nibbonometry. What these sessions do is I'm going to tackle a complicated or troublesome area of the game that a lot of players may be experiencing, and I'm going to simplify it, dumb it down, and help alleviate some of those issues that you're going through. So, the first one we're going to talk about, and I'm starting to see a lot of trouble when people talking about it, is Arena. There's definitely a very specific meta in Arena, and a lot of people are having trouble with this particular meta. It's an easy way to rise to the top and keep gaining rank. The meta being Drax, Gamora, Yondu a lot of the time. You're going to see some Quake up in the mix. You might even see Crossbones, and if they're really tricky, they'll throw a couple tanks, maybe even 3 at you. It'll be like Crossbones, Cap, and fucking Drax. So, I got good news, is that meta is really easy to beat. They're relying on taunts, and there's really easy ways to get around these taunts. Like, I say really easy, but it's just farming a few heroes. And since everybody thinks that like Drax is the meta, all you have to do is counter the meta. My lineup, and going over it, is first, I'm going to go with Yondu. Like, Yondu is a definite. For one, he just has so much utility. His basic can remove buffs. He has his AoE that hits everybody for piercing. It's guaranteed damage. You have his Ravagers that come down, and if you have that ability leveled up, the Ravagers do quite a bit of damage, and they can heal. And they're a distraction for the AI to attack. So that's a given. I think, you know, Yondu's a pretty standard meta. Everybody's going for him. You should be hitting his node in 1-9 on hero side like every day. I know you might not get all the shards you want, but hey man, that's this type of game, and it's always a grind. Secondly, and most importantly, is Hawkeye. Hawkeye is more amazing than he's actually given credit for. Now, for one, his basic ability, Deadeye, has a chance to hit multiple times. It crits often and is unavoidable, which means it very rarely gets dodged. It can't be blocked, anything like that. But there's a couple other abilities that are way more important. Concussion arrow, huge. This is one of the abilities that I use to circumvent tanks to get around them. It clears 2 positive effects from the primary and adjacent targets, and then reduces the speed bar of the primary target by negative 15%, which is huge. So like, I'll use it on like a Crossbones to clear his taunt and get rid of some of his speed so he can't even take another turn. And then Air Burst is nuts. Does unavoidable damage and applies blind to primary target with a 50% chance to apply blind to 3 additional targets. Now, I'm on my way to having it blind everybody, and there's nothing more satisfying than watching the computer blow all of their cooldowns while blinded and miss on all of them. I can't tell you how great that is. You can also be farming him on multiple locations. As you can see, there's heroes 6-6. The big one is villains 1-9. You should have that if you're not quite up to heroes 6-6. Villains 1-9 is a first node. You should be hitting that every day. He's clutch, especially in raids. I use him in raids as well, and he's just phenomenal. Then there's Quake. That's the obvious, okay? Anybody who knows anything about this game knows that Quake is top 3. The only hero that is stronger than her is Black Widow. Right under her is Quake, specifically for 2 abilities. Okay, Seismic Blast is the big one. It affects the primary target and adjacent targets, applying slow for 2 turns. Slow is ridiculously good. Okay, let me tell you. What I'll do in Arena is I'll target like a tank, especially a Crossbones, and I'll apply slow to him every turn possible, and I'll literally get my 3rd turn with her before he gets his 2nd turn. Like, it's that crazy. So you definitely want to be spamming that Seismic Blast on anything that you don't want to take a turn. And then the other one is Earthquake. It's a huge AoE that does significant damage and then applies offensive down to multiple enemies. Right now it's only applying it for 3 to me. I'm going to level it up to have 5, and I think it'll hit like everybody at some point. It's crazy good. And then her passive actually buffs shield by 5% damage. So since Hawkeye is a shield agent, it increases his damage by 5%, which makes him hit harder. It's awesome. Luke Cage is my tank. I know a lot of people like to use Drax. A lot of people use Cap. I don't have Cap yet. I'd probably use Cap. I'm trying to farm him. He's kind of a pain in the butt. But until then, Luke is very underrated. Like, his basic has a chance to call a hero assist at 30% chance. It happens more often than you would think. Also has a taunt which can clear negative effects from himself, and it gives him regeneration, which is nice. He heals himself. Unbreakable is awesome. Defense up, and allies get a chance to gain death proof on themselves. Plus, he generates random ability energy to somebody. There aren't very many heroes that do that, so having somebody that does is awesome. And then his passive can give him more armor and health. He's a lot stronger than people give him credit for, and I actually really like him, and I do really well with him. And the final person that I use on my squad is Daredevil. Daredevil's the second hardest hitting hero in the game. He's pretty amazing. His basic hits fairly hard, and if it's a hand, he'll have extra attacks for sure. His baton is kind of finicky. You'll very rarely let it hit more than one person. I've seen it happen. Actually, in the video, you can see that it happened once. If you were paying attention, you'd be like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that happened. It never happens for me. Yeah, I was kind of shocked too that it happened while I was filming it. Brawl's big deal, man. It hits incredibly hard and hits multiple targets. It's great in raids, especially in arena. Sometimes I have problems with blitz. It doesn't hit as many targets as often, but in arena it definitely does, and it hits relatively hard. And then enhanced senses gives them an extra dodge chance, gives defenders bonus speed, so my Luke will get bonus speed. But the big kicker is once you level up enhanced senses even more, you get 10% dodge, and it's pretty clutch. Like if you've ever used, say, a Spider-Man or a Vision, like they have insane dodge, but it's enough to make a significant impact in the fight, and it will definitely be noticeable and probably save his life more times than you can count. I know a lot of people like to go with heroes like Gamora, but I really like the versatility of Daredevil and what he brings to the table, and he also has great synergy with Luke Cage. Now in closing, basically you want to have Quake, Hawkeye, Yondu, any tank. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Like I said, I choose Luke Cage. I would prefer Captain America. I don't have him though. You could use Drax. I would try not use CB because he's really not a tank. Or you can use Kingpin. It really doesn't matter. And then, Daredevil's interchangeable too. You can use Gamora and stuff like that. Like the big three are Yondu, Quake, and Hawkeye. Throw those guys into an arena. Make sure you're using their abilities to take away taunts and buffs, and I promise you'll end up rising in rank quicker than you can count. Thanks for watching, guys. Feel free to subscribe and stay tuned for more episodes.